This is an R Media podcast.
This episode is brought to you by F5 Collective.
Marie Claire presents You're Gonna Want to Hear This.
Your relationship with Shaun, I feel like people are quite infatuated by it. When you met him, did you know that he was going to be your person?
Not when I met him. We'd always said that we would have like a really basic, really simple wedding because that's our style. No one knew. We just thought if we want to keep it private, we've got to keep it airtight. We can't tell anyone.
Hi everyone, I'm Georgie McCourt, editor of Marie Claire, and this is You're Gonna Want to Hear This, the Marie Claire podcast where we sit down with women who've lived big, brilliant, complicated lives and talk about the parts you don't always see. Now, today's guest is someone who Australia has grown up with and someone that we think we know, but you're about to hear her in an entirely new way. Gale, who has just turned 50 and is the cover star of Marie Claire's January issue, looking absolutely spectacular. Now, in this episode, Megan also has some very special news that she has chosen to share exclusively with Marie Claire, so get ready for a bit of a big mic drop moment. Megan has been famous for almost her entire adult life. She has fronted campaigns that defined a generation. She's currently a David Jones brand ambassador. She's walked the runways with the world's most iconic supermodels. Hello, Naomi Campbell. And she's also navigated a level of national attention that most of us can't even imagine. But behind all of that is a woman who has had to make sense of scrutiny, comparison, confidence dips, reinvention, and the very private world that she has built away from the spotlight. In this conversation today, she talks candidly about what fame feels like from the inside, how it shaped her self-esteem, and also why comparison is something that she's had to slowly unlearn. We revisit the 18-year-old who arrived in Sydney with a modelling contract and big dreams, the Italian chapter that changed everything, and the surreal memories, like walking alongside Naomi Campbell, that still feel dreamlike. We also dive into where she's landed now, stepping into her 50s with clarity, the lessons her 40s taught her, and what success, failure, and longevity look like through her eyes. And then, of course, there's her relationship with Shaun, the fascination around it, the way they actually function as a team, and how becoming parents reshape their lives. It's honest, warm, surprising, and yes, there's that exclusive news too. Let's get into it. Now, Megan, I want to start by talking about fame because you really have been famous for most of your adult life. So I'm always interested in what does fame actually feel like? When you're the person who's famous, how would you describe it to someone?
It's such a unique experience, and I think no two experiences are really the same, because people become famous for different reasons. Sometimes it's through success, sometimes it's through something that's gone viral, sometimes it's through a scandal. So it's not like a cut and paste, this is what it is and this is what it means. And then as well, in addition to that, different people handle it and receive fame differently. Some people love it. Some people can't get enough of it. Some people want more of it. And then you have some people, which I probably fall more into this basket, that don't really care for it. So for me as well, like fame wasn't something that I ever chased. It wasn't an objective for me. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be well known amongst my peers and within the industry, but not necessarily be famous. And that ended up being a byproduct. But I think the important thing to kind of note to people is fame is one thing. And I think there's often a lot of eye rolling when famous people talk about being famous and how hard it is. And people go, oh, it must be so hard being famous. And actually, it's not that hard being famous. It's the byproducts of becoming famous that are tricky to navigate. It's being under scrutiny, losing your anonymity and your privacy, which aren't fame, but they're byproducts of it. And again, it's things that people don't really understand the impact it has on you and your mental health sometimes until it's gone, until you don't have them anymore. So it's a really tricky thing to explain to people who haven't gone through it. And there really is no right way or any handbook that you get to teach you how to deal with it or navigate it either.
One thing I love about getting older is not caring so much about what people think.
Yeah.
Which is hard when there's social media and there's people you don't even know who are, watching your life. And at what age or what period of your life do you think you started to let go of what people think of you?
It takes a while to not care when you think it might impact on your livelihood. But I'm definitely leaning into now, especially hitting 50. I'm really in my I don't care era. Like I don't care. I'm too tired to care. I don't have enough time to care. And you kind of just get there naturally. And once you realize you're there, you're like, oh, this actually takes a load off. Like not being in my head so much, not overthinking stuff that's happened or might happen, or you know what I mean? It's quite liberating to kind of just go, oh, it doesn't really matter.
Up next, you'll hear Megan reflect on turning 50, what she's leaving behind, what she's carrying forward, and the surprising clarity that hits when you stop caring about what other people think of you. That's coming up after the break. This episode's brought to you by F5 Collective, intelligent capital designed by women for women. Now, I've been keeping an eye on what they're doing, and honestly, it is game-changing. They're building a whole new way for women to access capital and grow brands, redefining business. F5 fund and mentor women-owned brands that are bold, innovative, and ready to scale. Find out more about the women rewriting the next chapter of business. I can't believe you're 50. You look absolutely incredible. We were all just staring at the cover of you in the office, just going, wow, look at her skin, look at her face, look at her hair. Like you just look phenomenal.
Thank you.
It's the most beautiful picture of you on the beach in this beautiful yellow Camilla and Mark dress. How did turning 50 feel? Because it is, entering a new decade. I mean, I'm 43 now, nearly 44, and turning 40
your baby,
was very exciting.
Your little baby, little bubba.
I'm like, I will be right there at 50 any minute now. But tell me, how did turning 50, how did it feel?
Okay. I've never been one to be over celebratory with birthdays, especially milestone ones. I really wasn't going to do anything at all. Again, leaning into the don't care, too tired, don't have time. But then I thought, oh, look, don't be grumpy. Don't be old and grumpy. And my friends were like, you have to do something. You have to do something. I was like, oh, I can't be bothered. I went away with some girlfriends up to the Gold Coast for a couple of days, and that was really lovely. Just a small group of us. So that was great. And other than that, didn't really feel any different. It's another day. It's another year. It wasn't really this big moment for me. And things are as big as you make them, or as you want them to be. The only thing I will say is I probably did start to have a moment of reflection and go, oh, wow, look at the last 5 decades. And I look back at some of the things and some moments and some phases or some times in my life where I go, that feels like that was either a dream or it happened to another person or it was another lifetime that I've had. And then so looking back in that sense, and I think looking forward going, what's next? Is there anything else I might want to sit back and go, I might try that or learn that or explore that. It's all up for grabs. So it does give you, I guess, a moment to pause, reflect, and then sort of think about what you want that next 5-10 years plus to look like.
Well, I want to talk about those decades, and I want to go back to the beginning. So you're 18, you've just won a modelling competition and you moved to Sydney. What do you remember about who you were then and who you wanted to become?
I remember thinking, and I won that modelling competition in Perth, and it was one that was run annually, and there were a couple of models prior to me that had won it that had come to Sydney and done really well, like really, really well. So I was full of enthusiasm and hope, and it didn't pan out that well for me. Like I really struggled. I struggled to get work, and I kept going back to Perth because I was like a big fish in a small pond in Perth. Like I worked solid. And so I'd go back to Perth, I'd save up money, I'd come to Sydney where I was a small fish in a big pond, and I'd spend all my money on rent and doing test photo shoots so I could take my portfolio around and show it to, because everything was obviously, hard copy in those days. And it was a real back and forth struggle for quite a few years. And that taught me a lot of resilience and perseverance. And I remember around about the age of 22, and I'd been in Sydney for like a good 4 years. And I remember going back to Perth and my dad saying to me, listen, your mum and I are happy to keep supporting you and, you know, in this dream, but you might want to start thinking about something else, because they knew as well as I did, models tend to have a relatively short shelf life as you know, your career as a model. And I just said to him, I will, but I've just got a feeling, Dad. I just want to give it one more year. I've just got a feeling. And then that year, everything changed.
Do you remember being on the runway with Naomi Campbell?
I do. That was for a show for Gianfranco Ferrer in Milan. And her and I shared the same agency and manager in Italy. That was quite wild just to be in her company. And he actually represented a lot of supermodels. Is actually an Australian guy by the name of David Brown, and went over there and set up an agency. And so he had a lot of the girls. So I'd often see them, you know, from around Milan because they'd come in for work. But yeah, just to even be near that sort of level of, you know, women that were successful in the industry were great. And she was great. I know she sort of got a bad rap back in the day, but she was fine.
What did you learn during that period, and I guess now as well, about models' relationship with self-esteem and confidence? Because often people look at models and think, well, they must be super confident and have no self-esteem issues because they're so beautiful, but that's not the case. What did you learn about how models grapple with self-esteem and confidence?
You'll often find that models are some of the most insecure people on the planet, largely because I think, you know, you think about it, you arrive onto, let's say, for a photo shoot, and you arrive on set, or you arrive, not saying this is the Marie Claire set because it wasn't, absolutely not, consummate professionals, or even backstage at a show. And this probably, I hope, happens less now, but back in the day, you'd be sitting there and the crew would be around you, the photographer, the client, hair, makeup, and everyone's talking about you. What do we do with her? Let's do this to her. Or should we do that? No, that's not going to suit. Let's do this. Should we put her in that? No, that's all wrong. Get her out of that. Put her in this. And you're talked at and you're talked about, but no one's actually considering. Very rarely would it be like, what do you think? Yes, you're the model, but you're also the integral part. If you're not there, the shoot doesn't happen. Yet you're treated like just a commodity or just a coat hanger. And that can impact how you see yourself, feel about yourself, and overall your self-esteem.
Definitely over the last few years, I've been trying to really focus on how I react to things. And I know that we read this in every second self-help book, but it's the only thing that we can control is our reaction to things. But when you do have a moment where you are able to control your reaction in a really calm way, it's so empowering, and the situation unfolds so differently than if you get really like upset, or not that I'm saying we should accept people treating us in certain ways, but it is, your reaction to things is very important.
I'm really interested in all of that actually, because sometimes I think, especially as women, we think we've got to fix things. We think we've got to rush in and we've got to help and save and have an answer right away because it's expected of us. And you actually sometimes have more time than you think to respond to a situation. Even day-to-day stuff like, oh, this person's asked me this and they're waiting for me to get back to them. It's like, you don't have to rush. You can actually take a minute and think about what you want to say or how you want to handle it, and not succumbing to the pressure or the stress of the situation that we might even be sometimes putting on ourselves, and go, I'm just going to take a minute. I'm just going to take a beat and think about, and it's easier said than done, but I agree with you. I think when we manage to have those moments where we do that, there is a bit of like, I'm really proud how I handled that, or I actually really learnt a lot from that.
Up next, you'll hear Megan share the story of meeting Shaun, why he felt different, and how their relationship has evolved over time. Plus, the very special news that she has chosen to share with Marie Claire. That's right after the break. This episode's brought to you by F5 Collective, intelligent capital designed by women for women. Now, I've been keeping an eye on what they're doing, and honestly, it is game-changing. They're building a whole new way for women to access capital and grow brands, redefining business. F5 fund and mentor women-owned brands that are bold, innovative, and ready to scale. Find out more about the women rewriting the next chapter of business. Your relationship with Shaun, I feel like people are quite infatuated by it. They're very curious about it. And I love how private you are. Why do you think there is a fascination around your relationship?
Is there? Do you think there is?
Yeah, I think there is. And I have to say, I was at this event the other week on the Gold Coast. I was almost going to message you because I saw Shaun standing there and I didn't recognise him at first. I sort of looked.
Oh, were you there?
I was there and I thought,
no
oh my
way.
God, he is so handsome.
Oh,
My
he's quite
God.
the rooster, isn't he?
Oh my, like in the flesh, I was like, the two of you together, ridiculously good looking. It's just, yeah, he was also, I only spoke to him very briefly, but so lovely, which doesn't surprise me because you're so lovely. But I don't know, I think they are because you've been together a long time. So I'd love to know, when you met him, did you know that he was going to be your person?
I did. Not when I met him, but because I met him quite a long time before we got together. And I met him and I clocked him and I was like, similar to you, I was like, oh my God, you're tall and well built and look at your face and your eyes and you're quite the specimen. But that was it. There was no like, oh, wow, he's amazing. I need to – and I was with someone else at the time. So I didn't really clock him like that. But you can't help but notice the guy. I mean, he's gorgeous and he's massive. He's a unit. Ages later, we connected again. And that time it was more about – because I actually got to speak with him and we had a bit of back and forth and there was something there and I was like – it was less about what he looked like and it was more about who he was as a person, and even more than that he seemed really like me. There were a lot of things that he would say or do and interests that he'd speak of and music and all sorts of things that I was like, oh my God, we're so similar. That's crazy. And it at first, even myself, I was like, but there's like an age gap there. Like he's so mature for his age. And, he was in his early 20s and I was like approaching my mid-30s, which was a big deal at the time. But which is probably when you talk about people being fascinated initially, I think it was around that, but I'll circle back to that. And we spoke more and more. Like before we even got together, we were in different states. And I remember we would Zoom each other. And we would be on for like 8-10 hours through the night. And it would feel like we were chatting for 5 minutes and so a large part of our initial relationship was formed long distance and through talking, which was awesome. And then eventually we got together and the rest is history. But yeah, I think I honestly don't know why. I mean, I don't think people are that fascinated now. I think we're kind of a bit old news and we're both very private, so we're not really on people's radars as much, I don't think. In a couple sense, like I think he's probably is in the football world and I do my thing. But yeah, as a couple, we sort of keep to ourselves and we're very normal and we're very stock standards. So I respectfully disagree that there's a fascination, but I think initially it was probably, I think when a footballer and a model gets together as well, there's always a bit of, especially in Melbourne, it's like, a big deal. But yeah, we're really not that interesting.
It is so refreshing because so many people want to put everything all over social media, and that's fine. But like privacy, I really respect how private you are because your relationship is sacred. And now you got married, which is huge, and no one knew. You kept it completely private, which in today's world is really quite a miracle. So
yeah,
tell me about the decision to get married. You had a very small, intimate, beautiful ceremony.
Yep.
Tell me about when you got married and why then and why keep it private.
Lots of very good questions, lots to unpack here.
I have a lot of questions.
And I think also probably to add to that, why keep it private for so long and why talk about it now, right?
Yeah.
I'll start on that. So I think for us, yes, we did get married a year ago. A year ago yesterday,
Really? Happy anniversary.
So it's been a year. Our ideal goal was to have it to ourselves just for a year. And why are we talking about it now? Look, I think at some point it does inevitably come up, usually with me more than Shaun, and especially during sit down, in-depth interviews. And I had a feeling like it might just come up inadvertently with our chat or with another chat. And I thought, no, it's good to, rather than it sort of coming at me maybe off the cuff on a red carpet or something, and I don't want to lie about it. If someone's like, when are you guys going to get married? I don't want to sort of say, oh, I don't know, or just give some weird answer. So I thought, now's the time, as good a time as any. And there's still a lot of it I want to keep just for us. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose, right? So we got engaged in 2017 when I was pregnant with Rosie, and we'd always said that we would have like a really basic, really simple wedding because that's our style. We also, I think, wanted to wait until the kids were older, that they could be a part of it, given that we've done things in a non-conventional order, I suppose. Look, I kind of just said to Shaun, you know what, we're always going to be busy. There's always going to be too much to do and we've got to make time for it. But I think we should plan for it. And given that we've lost both of our dads, we wanted both of our mums to be there, and they're by no means at death's door, but they're getting older. And so I said, I think we should just do it. So we talked about what it might look like, and it was really important for us to try and keep it private. I think because so much of our lives, especially mine, has just been on show and reported about and papped. And, even when I had River and I walked out of the hospital, there was a pap in the garage, and I just thought, in the parking lot, and I thought it would be really nice to try, like it might be unrealistic, but it would be really nice to try and do this and just have it private. No one knows, and it's just for us. Now, that's no small feat. It took a lot of thinking and organization, but we did it, and I can't believe that we did it. So the first step in trying to do that was making the decision to do it overseas, and there was really only one place we wanted to do it. There's this resort in Fiji called Vomo. I don't know if you know.
I do. And do you know why I know it? Because I've seen that you've holidayed there over the years, and It just looks so beautiful.
Yeah. So we wanted a place that wasn't too far, that was really special to us. So we've been going there since 2015, and we took River there when he was a toddler. We've taken our mums there before, and we're friends with the staff. Like it's like home away from home for us. And so we knew we could trust everyone there. We knew it would be isolated and it was special. And so we chose Vomo, and I'm so glad that we did. And the couple of people that knew were just so amazing and helpful and trustworthy and just so lovely. And it was just us and the kids and our mums. And they didn't know. No one knew. No one knew. And we told them the night before, not because we didn't trust them or anyone else. We just thought if we want to keep it private, we've got to keep it airtight. We can't tell anyone. Just in case there's an off-the-cuff slip of the tongue, we've got to keep it airtight. And so we told them the night before, and they were a little bit in shock, but really happy for us. And yeah, it was just really simple and beautiful. And we were just thrilled, really thrilled.
I've got goosebumps. So you're sitting around the dinner table on the island the night before, and you're like, hey, mum, tomorrow we're getting married.
I think we said it something like, just letting you know, because, when you're on holiday, you plan things and you've got activities and whatever. So I'm just going to let you guys know that we've got something planned for us to do as a family tomorrow. And they're like,
just something small.
Okay. Yeah. So what is it? It's like, we're actually going to be getting married. There was a lot of like, what? No way. What? And the kids like walked out. Like they just walked off. They came back and said, are you guys joking? But they were happy. But yeah, it was definitely a lovely, surprise. And why not share it immediately? Yeah, again, that goes back to just Shaun and I and our style, and we didn't feel a need to like, let's, and look, when I say this, I'm not judging or forming opinions on other people that do this, because everyone's style and everyone's way is their way. But it wasn't really our way to, jump online and do a post and, write a little message, and we might chuck a post up at some point, maybe with a very nondescript photo. We've of course got photos, we've got, everything. it is really nice when so much has been public to not have this shared or overshared or, you know, turn it into content and all of that, just to have it for us and the family. And yeah.
What do you remember about the day? Was it just would have been so
humid.
special having your children there? Yeah, bit balmy.
It was hot. It was humid. What do I remember? What are some of my favourite memories? Getting ready with Rosie and my mum was really nice because Shaun was with Riv and his mum, and I was with Rosie and my mum, and that was really, really lovely. And I remember and I remember in the morning, like I booked massages for me and mum, and Rosie got her nails done, and Shaun went off with his mum and Riv, and, you know, they did their thing. And so that was really nice. And then I also remember there was a beat after we were ready, just before we were about to start. Rosie walked ahead of me down. It wasn't really an aisle. It was like this beautiful little garden path. And just watching her walk towards her brother and her dad was really, really gorgeous. And then when I walked towards all three of them, that was just a moment of like, wow, this is special. This is really, really special. And the other memory I have, which I love, was like later once we'd had sort of dinner and everything, because we just got married at the villa where we were staying in the gardens, and we had dinner by the pool, and the kids were in the pool. Like they had dinner and then they were just in the pool, and it was nighttime. And I remember, because I'm like one of those mums where your kids are always trying to get you in the pool and you're like, no, I'm not, I don't want to get wet. I've just done my hair and I can't be bothered. I'm too cold. But I waited for them to have their heads turned, and I jumped in like fully clothed and like did a huge bomb in the pool, and they like turned around like, oh my God, Mum's in the pool and she's got clothes on. This is the best day ever. So that was really fun. That was really fun.
I love that you jumped in. I'm the same as you. I'm like, no, I don't want to get my hair wet. I don't want to like ruin my makeup. But I always think I need to be more of a fun mum. So I love that you jumped in the pool.
Yeah, I knew they'd get a kick out of it and they'd love it. And yeah, it's just adding to the memory pile, you know.
And were there tears?
We wrote vows, and when I wrote mine, I was like, I've nailed this. Like my vows are great. And I went first and I read mine, and then Shaun went, and I was like, oh, you've knocked it out of the park, buddy. Like your vows killed it over mine. I was like, your vows was so good. Like he really like I got quite emotional when he read his vows. They were great.
Because you've got two children together, so you've lived through so much together already. So it's so special to get married now with your children there, with your mums there.
Highly recommend. And honestly, I do not know how people plan a wedding with more than 6 people. Like, I just don't know. Like, even that, I mean, I had an extra element of trying to keep it, you know, secret and what have you. But when I hear about 200 people and 15 tables I'm just like, no thanks. Even like a lot of my friends who did it that way, they were like, oh God, if I could go back and just go and get married with my husband, I so would do that and just cut all the. Highly recommend going overseas, keeping it intimate. And if you want, why not wait till your kids are old enough? Because it's really special, and they can remember it and they see it and they're a part of it. It's so, so special.
Congratulations. I can't believe it was yesterday, 1 year of marriage. And I imagine nothing's obviously changed. You have been together for a long, long time. You've got 2 children together. It's
Nothing's
just
changed.
Beautiful. Nothing.
No, nothing changes. And it shouldn't, really. It shouldn't. It's just a ceremony to celebrate your love together and coming together as a family, and that's it. And so when people are like, oh, you know, what's it been the first year of marriage? Well, it's like it's been the same as the last 14 years together. You know, it's sort of, you know, nothing, that's my belief anyway. I don't think anything should really there shouldn't be this huge shift because you had a party and a ceremony. You know what I mean?
Over the last 14 years, obviously you both had incredibly successful and busy careers. You've had 2 children. Did you ever sit down and have a conversation about, okay, I'm going to lean at this point or you're going to lean in at this point? I never did, and I feel like a lot of couples don't, and it's having children can throw a lot up in the air. How have you navigated trying to work and raise a family and do that together?
It's a constant work in progress. And I know what you're talking about. And sometimes you can find yourself in situations where you turn around and you're like, oh, hey, I've got this role and I don't remember signing up for that. Or I don't remember, when did I become the person that does that? And that's where communication is key. And not to say that we get it right all the time, but I think what we do is that we really try and be equal and fair as much as possible. And that's changed a lot over the time that we've been together, you know, mainly since having kids, where depending on what the other one's got on at the time, that you have a conversation about what that looks like, and then it'll change again, and it'll change again depending on where the kids are at, how busy they are, what job you've got, what schedule you've got. Shaun just has moved on to a new coach, like a development coaching role with North Melbourne. That's just started, right? So that's going to look very different to what it looked like last year when he was coaching midfield coach for the women's at Richmond, because it's a different schedule. It's a different, you know, scope of work. So it's like, okay, let's have a chat about what it's going to look like for the next 9 to 10 months, what that means for me, for you, the kids. So it's about just constantly having those conversations so you both kind of understand what your role is, where the give and take is, and how you're going to juggle it together.
About parenting, it's obviously really, really, really full on. And I remember when your babies, your beautiful Rosie and River, were little babies, that's really full on. But as I've discovered, and no doubt you've discovered, it's just always full on. Way full on. Exactly.
It's always full on, just in a different way.
Right now, how do you feel about parenting? Is it full on? Is it fun? Is it all of the above?
I think we're at a real sweet spot right now where it's busy, yes, but as we just said, it's always busy. It's just busy in different ways. But they're old enough that they've got a bit of independence. They're young enough that they're not yet giving us too much attitude and rebellion and I know what I'm doing and all of that stuff you hear about with teenagers. They're fun and they're funny and they're not all hormonal and like monosyllabic answers and stuff like that. So we're in a really, really good, you know, Riv's 11, Rosie's 8, and they're just at they're both at really good ages that, you know, we really enjoy. So at the moment, yes, it's busy, but they're also, and they're good kids. They're good kids. And everyone's sort of like, oh, kids. But they're pretty good. They're pretty good. I wouldn't trade them in just yet. So speak to me in, you know, another 8 years and I might change my mind.
Up next, you'll hear Megan talk about the version of herself that the public never sees, what overwhelms her, what grounds her, and what happiness actually looks like in her real life. Stay with us. This episode's brought to you by F5 Collective, intelligent capital designed by women for women. Now, I've been keeping an eye on what they're doing, and honestly, it is game-changing. They're building a whole new way for women to access capital and grow brands, redefining business. F5 fund and mentor women-owned brands that are bold, innovative, and ready to scale. Find out more about the women rewriting the next chapter of business. Give it a couple of years. Something you spoke about in the Marie Claire cover story was boundaries. And I think boundaries relate to motherhood because every time we say yes, it comes at a cost for what happens at home because then we become overwhelmed and stressed. Mm. What do you like when you're overwhelmed? And how have you learned to put more boundaries in place and say no?
I definitely, like everyone, yes, I can get overwhelmed, especially it's really interesting you say that when you say yes too much. And Shaun's often at me saying like, why do you keep saying yes to this? Why do you say yes to that? Like you like load yourself up sometimes, which I'm sort of learning to kind of get better at not doing that. What does an overwhelmed Megan look like? Oh, you'll know because she's taking herself off to do some yin yoga and just to kind of, you know, but I think again, with time I've learnt I can see early warning signs before I get to the point of overwhelm. And I have learned that, okay, let's not get to the place where our head's spinning and we can't string our thoughts together. And we're overworked, overtired, overstimulated, and try and stop it before it gets to that point. And it might look like having a chat with Shaun, and that's again where it comes to communication, where I'll say to him things, especially like, I'm 50. I've been navigating perimenopause for a number of years, which just means that overwhelm and that feeling like there's a lot up here. And I think I'm at the back end of it. But I've learned a lot through going through that, is that, you know, you need to, before you sort of start to glitch, you need to stop, reboot, and just take a minute, because you're not going to be any help to anyone.
Something that's come up in a lot of interviews that we've done recently is women, I would say in their late 40s, 50s and beyond, not feeling seen.
I'd rather be seen less, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm like,
rather like, oh,
you're definitely seen.
No, I think it's a really good thing to bring up. I do think not even about sort of going through perimenopause. I think it's just that 40, 50 plus, where there is a lot of talk around that. And it wouldn't bother me if I still wasn't working as much and having the opportunities that I have. I don't think I'd be like, oh, damn it, you know, no one's putting me out there anymore. I'm very accepting of how my career is going to have its, you know, the last part of its trajectory. Actually, I thought that I wouldn't be working past 40. I really, really didn't. So it surprised even me. But I think there should be more instances than to myself and the probably small select few that are seen. We should be putting that out there more so all women feel represented. And I feel extremely lucky. It's not lost on me how lucky I am that I can still not only be working, but, you know, being on the cover of Marie Claire at 50 is an example of, you know, being seen, being included, and get 2 months ago, I was on the catwalk for David Jones. Who would have thought it, you know, at 50? And so, and I love it because where I don't really necessarily warm to it is when it's done as a tokenistic, oh, let's put, you know, an elderly woman on there. You know what I mean? When it's done to tick a box, when people are, so, well, let's tick that gender box or that age box or that body type. When it's too tokenistic, I feel like it's not coming from the right place. I could be wrong, but I don't feel it's tokenistic with me. I feel like it's a genuine, yeah, let's have her on the cover. Let's pop her in this campaign. Let's pop her on the catwalk because it makes sense. And I do it when it makes sense, not to tick a box or like I think everyone needs to be seen, you know, women need to feel represented. So I'm going to be that poster girl for it. But I feel extremely grateful and lucky that I can still be in these spaces.
Before we go into some quick fire questions, I just want to finish by asking, what brings you the most fulfillment about your career? Because as I just said, you have had the most extraordinary career and it just feels like it just continues to thrive and thrive and thrive. What brings you the most fulfillment?
I can select what I do and still have time and freedom to be there for my kids while they still are at that beautiful age where they want me and need me. And so that fulfills me that I've got that balance right. But also to be at a point where it's where I wanted to be, where I arrive on a set and it's a collaborative effort and I'm included in it, not like what we spoke about earlier where it's you're being talked about or at, you're part of the collective. That makes me feel fulfilled. It makes me feel part of the team and like my opinion matters and my contribution matters. That's really lovely. And that's a really fortunate position to be in, but also I do feel fulfilled because that's ultimately the main things that I wanted. Like when I spoke earlier about what my main objectives were, what the end game was, not fame, not about making a lot of money. It's about working in this industry in a way where I feel like, you know, I have a voice and choices. It's really, really lovely that that's where it's kind of at for me.
Okay, I want to go into some quick fire questions to finish off. The name of this podcast is You're Going to Want to Hear This. What is one message that you want women to hear?
Oh gosh, be kind to yourself. and this is easier said than done, and I'm still a work in progress with this, but trying not to get so caught up about things that we can't control and things that might have already happened or things that might not happen or things that are currently happening where, well, like you beautifully said, like, well, sometimes the only thing we can control is our reaction and how we respond and how much we're going to let that affect us. Now, that is, again, easier said than done, but I think, and I want to master that, and I'm, on a bit of a path to do it. But I find when I do it, I do feel so much more at peace. And what the key there is just really acceptance of someone else's behavior, a situation, all these variables that I think we get so bogged down with trying to control, and a lot of it we can't.
What is the biggest argument, if you remember, that you've ever had in your career? You know what?
I think I've been lucky. I've not really had many arguments. I've certainly had moments where, again, that word, boundaries have been tested, challenged. Perhaps a situation where, I've had to really speak up and push back because it was maybe something that I hadn't agreed to or I wasn't told about, or being pushed into a place of discomfort in my job where I've then had to say, actually, no, or that's not good, or this needs to be fixed. And so while it could seem like a situation that's at the time bad, ultimately it taught me to have a voice and speak up and set respectful boundaries. So glass half full.
What is guaranteed to make you laugh?
Oh, my kids, especially Rosie. Shaun and I'll often say, like, Rosie she doesn't mean to be funny, but she just has this comedic timing, and some of the words that come out of her mouth, which aren't bad ones, but it's the way she words things. And there's just like a drop of sass in there, and it will have Shaun and myself and Riv in stitches. But both the kids are funny, and their dad is extremely funny too. Like, Shaun's got an awesome sense of humor.
Definitely does. And last one is, what has been your best day ever?
Oh, we spoke about the wedding. That was nice, but there was a lot of moving parts. So it was an amazing day, but I wouldn't say it's up there with one of the best. I've got probably about 10 that have instantly come to mind that I couldn't compare, but probably, how lucky is that? If I could sit, I could have like that one. Oh, but wait, there's that one and that one and that one and that one. And having so many to choose from is like a gift within itself. And I think the ones I'm thinking of, they usually involve the kids and Shaun and some kind of adventure, us doing something fun, usually in the holidays when there's no school, no work. I would say most of my favourite days would be anywhere between when school ends in December and end of January, without a doubt.
It is the best time of year. I can't wait.
I love it. Same.
Megan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's always so wonderful and lovely and inspiring and talking to you, and I'm so excited to share this news, this very, very exciting news, and I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been awesome. And thank you for, putting me on the cover. And, I think I was just trying to think the other day, 1, 2, 3, I think it's my 4th Marie Claire cover.
Because you were pregnant naked on the cover of Marie Claire.
Oh, yes, Jackie Frank. That was her.
Yes.
That was her brainchild. She worked hard. She had to really talk me into that. Like, I remember her coming to have a meeting with me, and she sort of said, I just want to talk to you. I just want to talk to you about this idea a bit more. And so she sat down and she talked me around, but I was like really, really nervous about it. But I love it. I do love it. And I'm happy I did it. But there was the one before that was in a red dress. And then I remember
that one.
Then there was the pregnancy one. And then there was one with Jen Hawkins, which I loved.
That was beautiful. We just looked through all our old covers, actually. I love all your covers.
Yeah, there's some great ones. I feel like I'm forgetting one. Maybe not. Maybe it's just 4.
Just for, well, whether it's 5 or 6, another one on sale very soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And that's our conversation with the incomparable Megan Gale, 50, fabulous, and stepping into this next decade with more clarity, humour, and hard-won perspective than ever. I am so grateful that she chose to share her story with us and, of course, that very special news that she trusted Marie Claire with. It's really not often that you get to hear someone who has been in the public eye for so long speak with that level of honesty, softness, and self-awareness. If you love this episode, make sure you pick up our January issue to see Megan's spectacular cover shoot and follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode that stays with you long after you listened. I'm Georgie McCourt, editor of Marie Claire. Thank you so much for being here. We will be back in early 2026 with more brilliant episodes. So stay safe over the festive season, rest, eat, relax, and I cannot wait to get started in the new year. This pod was recorded on Gadigal land. We pay our respects to their elders, both past and present. This episode is brought to you by F5 Collective, intelligent capital designed by women for women. F5 curate and fund extraordinary women-owned brands. This is where capital meets commerce and a new chapter for women begins.